By Russ Bliss and Jeff Cortini with FantasyFootballStarters.com. Thank you very much for coming in. We're talking fantasy football playoffs because we're well into it already.
That's right. This is actually championship week, Javier. That means that over 90% of the fantasy football leagues, people are playing for a championship this week. So this is why you studied all those stats. This is why you paid attention to your waiver wire, right, Russ? This is why you stayed up late at night to make sure that you knew when you were going to draft and things like that. So we're going to talk about some advice on making sure that you win this week. And one of the tips that we're telling everybody right now is you want to make sure you stay away from injured players. So here's some tips on that, right? Players that right now that are injured, like Julius Jones, you want to be worried of those guys that are injured. Reggie Bush is injured right now, so if you've got him in your lineup, these are guys that you don't want to play. And as far as reason to play.
Oh yeah, you always want to have guys in there that have something to play for. Guys from teams that are in the playoff hunt, they haven't locked up their playoff seed. They've got a lot of impetus to put out their best production. You will look for guys like that this week.
And basically, the guys who have gotten you to the big dance, you make sure you stick with them.
You got, and we'll talk about the Cardinals later on. They have a reason to play. And then the other thing is you don't want to overthink your matchups. Something that I did last week, which was ridiculous, Javier. I pulled Jerome Harrison, cost me like 40 points and a chance to play for a championship. But you don't want to overthink the game either. You want to kind of go with the players that got you there. Yeah. And then the most important thing is you want to have a good time, right?
Yeah, you got to have fun. Fantasy football is more about having fun and building camaraderie and relationships than it is about hoisting championships. That's a lot of fun, but really it's about those relationships you make during fantasy football.
Talking trash.
But I was going to say, yeah, it sure does feel good if you win. If you win. Now, for those who aren't familiar with fantasy football, once the regular NFL playoff starts, fantasy football is basically over.
Yeah, you normally play through the regular season, so that's why week 15 and 16 of the NFL, that's when the playoffs and the championships are being played.
However, you can have fantasy football during the NFL playoffs, and we might talk about that next week because I do play in a couple of leagues like that.
This guy plays in every league. It doesn't matter if it's fantasy football during the season or not.
That's why he's your sidekick. That's why he's your sidekick. Let's talk about this matchup today against the St. Louis Rams. Now, St. Louis Rams on paper haven't done well all season, but they're still a pretty good team.
You bet they are, and they've got Steven Jackson, right? And right now, we're actually predicting for the Cardinals to beat the Rams about 27-13, right, Russ? I think that's the, and you look at guys like Kurt Warner, right? Talk about a team that has something to play for. He loves playing against his former team. He has a 99% passing rating. He's probably going to end up with 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, Javier, in this game. And the same thing goes for guys like Chris Beanie Wells, right? Running back. He's having a phenomenal year as a rookie. He's got just over 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. This is the perfect type of game to get him ready for those playoffs, right?
And when you talk about with something still on the line, they're playing for a big seed in the NFC.
They are.
The Arizona Cardinals can finish anywhere between the 2nd and the 4th seed overall. And the higher the seed, the more likely you are to have a second home playoff game. The Cardinals would love to have an NFC championship come through Arizona.
Also a bye. They'd get a bye week.
That's right.
Yeah,
right. It's a tough road, right, Russ? But it looks like they've got a shot at anywhere between the second
a lot
and
of things
seed.
would have to happen for them to get a 2nd seed, but the 3rd seed is still definitely a possibility for them.
I mean, look last year. Who would have thought they were in the Super Bowl, right? I know you didn't. Cowboy fan over
I don't
here.
think. Yeah, how about them Cowboys? Let's talk about them Cowboys.
That's right.
All right. As far as from these two teams, St. Louis Cardinals, who should the folks out there be starting on their roster?
I'll turn it over to you.
Well, you definitely want to start Kurt Warner. You like Beanie Wells, Anquan, Boldin, Larry Fitzgerald. With the Cardinals having so much to play for, you definitely want these guys out there. From the Rams, there's only one player.
Steven Jackson.
He's the only guy that you want to start for the St. Louis Rams because he's the guy that continues to go out there and put up the numbers. He hasn't practiced in over a month because he's got back spasms, but he's always out there getting his production on game days. He had a down game last week, but that's the first time in a while, and he's like 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards so far this season. Steven Jackson has been really a good beast for the St. Louis Rams and a boon for fantasy players, especially the last several weeks.
He has really been shaking them
Dreads.
Yes, and you know what? The Cardinals have a lot of respect for him. You listen to Darnell Dockett earlier this week. You listen to guys Bertrand Berry, those guys have a lot of respect for Steven Jackson, playing on a not too strong of a team, but he's done a real phenomenal job this year.
And let's talk about the Cardinals' defense a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the Cardinals' defense, look for the Cardinals. They're going up against a Rams team that's going to start Keith Noll at quarterback most likely. Now, Keith Noll is a rookie player. He's not all that great, but he has shown a little bit of development the last couple of weeks. And the Cardinals defensively, I won't be surprised if they decide to rest some of their key players defensively that have got minor injuries. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, he's got a toe injury. He's probable for this game, but if it gets into the third quarter and the Cardinals are winning, don't be surprised if DRC's sitting out. Gerald Hayes, he's not on this week's injury report. He's probably going, but he's had back issues. He might be rested some as well. And Bryant McFadden, questionable with a hamstring, he might be rested a good bit this week as well.
All right, let's talk about a free offer because you guys have been doing this all season long.
All season. Thousands of people in Arizona, Javier, have taken advantage of this. All you got to do is go to fantasyfootballstarters.com, register only, and then email me, Jeff at fantasyfootballstarters.com. We will upgrade you to our Power Player package. It's got our alerts, our lineup analyzer, our trade analyzer, everything you need to win. And anybody that listens to this segment and watches it, we're going to upgrade you for free.
I like that. I like that. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You got it.